That used to be the theft that we dealt with really just 10 to 15 years ago. But today, when we talk about employee theft or workplace theft, it is a wide-reaching description of theft because it involves not only the things that we just talked about, the cash theft and the shoplifting, but there's so much more, and we're going to kind of get into that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I've never Zoomed before, in case you're wondering. I have never Zoomed, so this is my first Zoom experience. I hope it's a good experience for you. I hope I don't bore you, but the advantage that you have is that you can go get a cup of coffee and come back, and I'll never know the difference, so you won't hurt my feelings at all. But I hope I can give you some information that maybe you don't know, or maybe you just need to be reminded of. But we'll talk about some things that will hopefully benefit you. Once I get through, hopefully not boring you, but enlightening you, then we'll answer some questions, hopefully, and I'll also give you my contact information. If you ever have any need to contact us, I'll give you my direct number where you can contact me. I would love to talk with you. If you have problems with your businesses, with your employees, I would love to talk with you about those. Okay, let's get started. So employee theft or workplace theft. Okay. I've got a view screen now, so I can see what's going on. So, but anyway, workplace theft and employee theft. So we're going to talk about several different aspects of this, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to you. Employee theft is defined as any stealing, use, or misuse of an employer's assets without the permission to do so. Now, think about that. We think about money, we think about different things, but we have to look at employee theft as more of an asset thing, because you as an employer, you as a business owner, have a lot of things in your business other than just merchandise, and you need to think about that. But the term employer assets is important because it implies that the employee theft involves more than just cash. It's much broader than that. In many industries, and many of you may have a business that you don't do a lot of cash, because today with debit cards and credit cards, cash is kind of on the decline. So you don't have as much cash, but you have other things that are very important. And some of your businesses may involve things that are way more important. It may involve customer lists, customer information, trademarks, different things that you use that are way more important than just cash. So we have to look at theft as encompassing all of those things. It can range anywhere from a paper clip, a box of paper clips, to someone taking a check from the check ledger and falsifying it and forging it and then cashing it or depositing it. So it can be a wide range of things. So let's talk about a few of those things, and then we'll get into some other areas. And so bear with me just a few minutes, and we'll go from there. But like we said, one of the main things is money. Money, without doubt, used to be the most common asset that's stolen from an employer, because the reality of it is, if an employee is stealing from you, if an employee decides that they want to take something from you, it's for a monetary purpose. Maybe they don't make enough money. Maybe they feel like they need more money. Maybe they're just dishonest. Maybe they have a drug habit. They're doing something that requires that they have money. So money is ultimately the reason that they do it. Now, they may take something else and they may fence it, or they may take it to a pawn shop, or they may do whatever with it. But the result of it is that they try to acquire some type of monetary value for it. Something else that is pretty rampant as far as employee theft goes is time. This occurs when an employee is paid overtime, or may falsify timesheets, or you may have if you have an old time clock system, you may have another employee punching another employee out after they've been gone for 2 hours. This happens usually in that area. A lot of companies now are going to a biometric type of time stamp, where you actually have to go in and put your thumbprint on the time card or the time machine, and it records your coming and going with a biometric. And those are very good, because those are, they're least likely to be able to be defrauded. defrauded because they're obviously, you got to have your thumbprint. So it's going to be difficult for somebody to falsify that. However, I'll share a case with you in a moment about that very thing, how it can be falsified, but it's usually not done on behalf of the employee. It's done in another way. Something that we don't think a lot about, but that is supplies in the workplace. How many times do you know of employees that you have, or how many times have you as an employee taken, oh, I need a notepad for the house, and you take a notepad, and oh, yeah, I'll just take one for work, or you know, I'm out of pens. Let me just get a pen, or I'm out of this, or I'm out of that. Do you realize that that can mount up to a lot of money, and that is actually workplace theft? It is actually a type of employee theft. We don't think about it, and sometimes it's actually an acceptable practice in some businesses, but that happens, and we've all done that. But it all reflects to an added cost for the employer when they begin doing their spreadsheets at the end of the year and they start talking about expenses. Those things mount up, and it impacts the business owner. Merchandise or company property. Merchandise is something that has been manipulated for years. And merchandise is obviously, if you own a business where you have an inventory, or if you have a product that you sell, product that you stock, you know, merchandise is something that an employee can take. Not only can someone come into your business if you have a retail establishment and shoplift that, someone that's non-related to the business, but just simply going to shoplift, such as at CVS or Walgreens or something. They just come in, they put something in their under their coat or in their purse, and they try to leave without paying for it. But this happens a lot when you start talking about employees. Merchandise is something that an employee can go and sell or fence to obtain that money, that monetary value that we talked about earlier. Okay, so we have to understand that money's always going to be the object here. So even if they're taking merchandise from you, they're doing it so that they can sell it or they can move it or they can do that with it. So we have to look at a system to accommodate the accountability of our merchandise. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. And something else, the last thing that I want to touch on in the way of items that you may or may not be aware of is information. How many of you own a business or work for a business or affiliated with a business that you don't really have a product per se, but you have a wealth of information? If you're in the financial business, if you're in medical business, whatever your business is, you may have a database on your computer that's full of customer information, that is full of customer account numbers, social security numbers, banking information, credit card information. You have a wealth of information on a database that you stored and that you use for your business. Now that information is very, very important because, as we said earlier, today in this age that we live in now, have you noticed this? Let me ask you a question. Have you noticed you don't see many bank robberies anymore? Have you noticed that? You know why you don't see many bank robberies anymore? Because it's so easy for someone in Connecticut to falsely identify themselves as you. It's called theft of property. It's called identity theft. It's called if you get into someone's database, it's theft of intellectual property. It's so easy for someone to hack in to your system now and to get these customer lists. Well, oftentimes we've seen employees take these customer lists and take this customer information and download them on a jump drive and sell this information to people. And someone who's out of state may actually go online and set up a false account for John Smith using John Smith's address, John Smith's social security number, all of this information, and they may give you a different direct deposit. I'll tell you, have you ever got a phone call with someone wanting to talk to you from the IRS? Have you ever got a phone call from somebody about your car warranty? Have you ever got a phone call from somebody about you've won a lottery, but in order for you to obtain this lottery, you're going to have to send me $2,500, or you're going to have to go to Walgreens and buy $1,500 worth of gift cards and send those to me. Those are scams. Now, how do these people get your information? Some of these people have a wide variety of and vast knowledge of your information because it's so easy to get now. So information is something that is very important, and as a business owner, you have to secure that information, and you have to do it in a means that employees cannot take this. And we'll talk about levels of accountability in just a moment. Why does employee theft matter so much to businesses? All right, so we're talking here at the Chamber of Commerce. So I took a statistic from the United States Chamber of Commerce. Did you know that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce estimates that 75% of all employees steal at least one time in their career? 75%. And do you realize that half of these, so that's 35-ish percent, 32-ish, 32 to 35% of these employees steal repeatedly? I saw that statistic and I thought, wow, that's amazing to me. I know that it's a problem because there's not a day that comes into my office, not a day goes by that I do not have some type of theft case. Like today, I went in and signed reports. I had about 5 theft cases just from yesterday. So we see theft cases on a regular basis. But the chamber also said that 1 out of every 3 businesses that fail in the United States is a direct result of employee theft. 33% of the business failures in the United States are because of employee theft. Now that is an unbelievable statistic for me. And the U.S. Department of Commerce said that employee dishonesty cost the American business in excess of $50 billion a year. $50 billion a year that goes out of your pocket that should be in your pocket. Now that's, when I see numbers like that, I'm thinking, this is a tremendous problem. How do we go about taking care of this problem? Some other statistics that we want to talk about from the American Society of Employers is that businesses lose 20% of every dollar they make to employee theft. 20% of employees are aware of fraud at their company, and they understand that all these things are happening. The theft, the false claims, the false work hours, inflated expense account, all of these things. 20% of employees at your business know that this is going on. The average time it takes for an employer to catch some type of fraud scheme within your own company is 18 months. I had no idea. So in other words, I'm being defrauded for 18 months before I maybe even become aware of it, or maybe before I have the ability to put some measures in place that I can catch this, I can stop this. 18 months, how much money can someone take from you as a business owner internally in 18 months? Quite a bit. Something that I was not aware of, but 55% of the people who perpetrate these crimes are in management positions. So over half of the employees or the crimes that you're getting are from your management, the people that you're supposed to trust to manage your business and to make your deposits and take care of your money. So how do you deal with that? We'll talk about that a little bit in just a few minutes. 44% of workers say their companies could do more to reduce fraud. 44% of employees are aware of the fact that fraud needs to be handled a little different. So we as company and business owners are not always doing the best job at reducing fraud. Sometimes we look at that as being too expensive. Some of the measures that we have to put a new camera system in, to put a new surveillance system in, those things are expensive. Then we have to monitor it. Then we have to be able to account for this, and we have to store the data. We have to do all these things we have to put new locking devices in. We have to do a biometric time clock. We have to do all these things. That's just too expensive, and a lot of small business owners, honestly, it's a load for them to carry. But the reality of it is, when you look at numbers like this, of dollars that are coming out of the American economy because of fraud and theft, how can you not afford to take measures to protect your business when you see that 1/3 of all business failures are for the very reason that we're talking, is because of theft and fraud. The U.S. retail industry loses $53.6 billion a year to employee theft. 60% of companies have staff trained to deal with fraud and ethical issues, and this is up from 30% in the year 2000. So in the last 20 years, all these businesses have discovered that, hey, theft is a problem. We're going to have to increase our staff so that we can deal with this. Some businesses, and I've had the opportunity to work with CVS, Loss Prevention, Walmart, Rite Aid, some of your major players in the retail business. We did some work with them, and they actually have, as part of their business plan, a acceptable percentage of loss that they have every year, because they know that the theft from shoplifting and everything, and that the employee theft is going to encompass a certain amount of money. So they actually put that into their business plan sometimes, that we're going to lose this. We have a tremendous loss prevention staff, but we're still losing it because it is such a problem. We can't have eyes everywhere. We can't do this. So they actually incorporate that into their business plan as part of an acceptable loss. And to me, that's sad. That's sad that we can't do more to try to curtail some of that. So 2000, in the year 2000, only 30% of these businesses actually had loss prevention, and it's up to 60%. Who commits employee thefts? Well, obviously employees, but like I said, management is responsible for 55%. These are the guys that are, if you have a cash business, these are the guys that are doing your cash draws. These are the guys that are counting your cash drawers. These are the guys that are handling your credit card receipts. These are the guys that are doing your inventory. These are the guys that are responsible for all this. So 55% of your management is actually portraying these thefts, or perpetrating rather. While in general, more employees under the age of 35 are more likely to steal from you, and that's a national statistic. But there's a flip side to that. Employees under 35 are more likely to steal from you, but older employees are more likely to steal more from you. Now, does that make sense? Under 35 are more likely to steal, but when you have the occasion of people over the age of 35, they're more likely to steal more from you. Okay, so that's something sobering to think about. So let's talk a little bit about the different types of employee theft. And I hope everybody's staying awake, has plenty of coffee and everything. I know that some of you aren't used to sitting still for this long, so bear with me. I'm going to wrap this up in just a minute. But different types of employee theft. First of all is larceny and embezzlement. Now, obviously, larceny is your theft. You're taking things from the shelf. You're taking things from the bin. You're stealing merchandise, which that will include your shoplifting, but it'll also include your employees that might be taking something out the back door. Embezzlement. People think of embezzlement as, I've got this accountant back here, and, they've been writing these checks, and they've been cashing these checks, and, I just did an audit, and, well, they got $25,000 worth of checks they stole from me. But embezzlement is not always that bit large of a scale. Embezzlement can be something as simple as someone taking money from the cash drawer. That's a form of embezzlement. So it's just on a smaller scale. And sometimes, those things are looked at differently, but it's a smaller scale. So it can be as small as that, or it can be as large as someone writing thousands of dollars worth of checks and forging those. Something else that we want to talk about here, and a lot of people don't really think about it, is the term skimming. I don't know if you ever heard the term skimming. Skimming is it's just like it says. Like, you ever talk about skimming something off the top? Well, that's what skimming is. Skimming refers to taking cash or merchandise from an organization before it's recorded. Now, it's harder to do that in a cashless society where you're doing credit card, but it is possible. It is possible. We have seen a lot of cases where people will take credit cards and they will charge the amount, they will get the receipt, they will go back, use the reference number, they will, because oftentimes they have to go back and open the account anyway to add the tip. If you're in like a restaurant or something, well, they can open the account up and they can charge that account for $10 extra, and then they'll take $10 of cash out, and you have $10 there that would accommodate that. Or so skimming is something. If you want to look at it in terms of merchandise, say you own a shoe business, say you sell tennis shoes, and you have a truckload of tennis shoes come in. Well, skimming would be an employee that's checking that merchandise in, and they see a box of Nikes that they like, and they say, I'm going to take this box of Nikes. They never check it in, so it never makes it into your business, but it shows up as a loss, or maybe the company shorted them. So that forces you to file a claim with the company, say, hey, you didn't send me this box of Nikes. When in reality, you had an employee taking that before it actually went into your inventory. So that's a form of skimming. Stealing business opportunities is another a category that I refer to. What are business opportunities? Well, the first one I think about is check tampering. Now, check tampering is really big because check tampering can happen internally, but check tampering can happen on the outside. I worked a case other day here in Vestavia, a company that most companies like to cut checks on a certain day of the month, maybe the 25th or whatever your particular day is. They like to have a check run and they like to cut checks. Well, people know this. Ex-employees know this, or ex-employees tell people, and when they cut checks and they put them in the mailbox, well, people sometimes go by the mailbox and they'll pull out checks. Well, they'll take checks and they will alter them, or they will take the accounting information off of it for the same amount. So you've got a check for $2,000. I can make a forged check, and I can put your account information on that forged check, and I can go cash that check somewhere, and until down the road you find out that $2,000 didn't go to Alabama Power for your power company or for your power bill, then that check is going to show up on your ledger as a $2,000 check, same check number, same account number. So forged checks and check tampering is very important. So what I would recommend is if you have a check, if you're in a business where you put checks in your mailbox and you have an exterior mailbox, I would recommend you do not do that. Please, by all means, take your checks on the day you're going to run your checks, take them and take them to the post office, deposit them directly. Now, that doesn't keep that from happening on the other end when they're delivered to whomever they're going to, but at least it safeguards your business on your end to where they're not getting these checks from your mailbox or something like that. So check tampering is big. Another thing that we see in a lot of business is billing schemes. Now, what's a billing scheme? If you own a company and you bill people, then you know that it's very simple to set up a vendor, a fake vendor, or someone who's ABC Widget Company. Well, it's very easy for you to set up a vendor for ABC Widget Company and for you to write a check to a company, and then you alter it, and then you may cash that as an employee, or someone that you're working with on the outside may cash that, and then that check, that number, all that account information goes into your ledger, and you don't catch it until you do a really deep audit, because the numbers match. You've got a vendor name, you've got a vendor code, you've got all the information that line up on your ledger, you got the right amount, but it's a fake company. So billing schemes are a problem. Payroll schemes, the same thing. You have to be careful with some of your payroll departments, because payroll people can be the world's worst about this, because they can inflate their time, they can inflate bonuses, they can inflate a lot of different things. They can actually set up. I worked a case that we're currently working right now with a local business where a manager of the company actually set up what's called a ghost employee. This is an employee that was actually a real employee at one time, but left the company. Well, he continued to pay this employee. Well, they also had a biometric time card. He went in and manually overrode every time that that employee worked. So when you do an audit sheet for your time card or for your time card machine with the biometric, every one of those entries was manually overridden. So we are working that case to the tune of about $20,000 right now over the last year. So that's something. Payroll schemes are very, very, very common. So you have to be aware of that. And then last thing I'm going to talk about here, and that is expense reimbursement schemes. If you have a company where you pay your employees with reimburse their expenses, that is a very, very common situation. So sometimes an employee will maybe pad that a little bit, and you have to be careful because if you are offering expense reimbursement, it's a very easy area to do that in. All right, I've talked a lot. Now let me give you a few pointers on what you can do to kind of curtail some of these things. Let me give you a few pointers on some things that we can work on. How do we start the process of preventing workplace theft and employee theft? All right, let's talk about if you own a business, first of all, that is such as a retail business where you may have an issue of shoplifting and things like that. If you own this type of business, one of the best things that you can do is have a good surveillance system, a good camera system. And I don't mean a camera system like at some of the drugstores. We'll have a Ford's prescription case that we're working, and we'll go get video from one of the drugstores. And when we get the video, it shows the person at the counter from the waist down. It's kind of hard to identify that person when you don't see a face. So when you start thinking about an employee or a surveillance system, please don't think that just the cheapest thing that you find is going to be good, because in order for that to benefit you, you're going to have to be able to identify the person that's taking the merchandise or shoplifting. You're going to have to be able to identify that. So it's going to be important where you put these cameras. It's going to be important the digital capacity of the cameras and the memory and all these things. So for retail, that's a very good idea. Surveillance cameras. If you have items that you can tag with the tags that buzz as people go in and out, that's a very, very good way to do that. But another good way, and we don't think about a lot of times, is employee awareness. If your employees are aware of what's going on, I know sometime in retail, especially during the holidays, it gets so busy. It's all you can do. It's all you can do just to keep up. You don't have time to look at people in your shops or in your businesses, and I know that makes it difficult. That's all the more reason for the surveillance. So think about that. All right. But the first thing that we want to do outside of that is, if you own a company or business, you want to perform a very thorough security audit of your business. And what I mean by security audit is, depending on the nature of my business, this is going to change. If I have a lot of foot traffic, well, then I have to account for some way to identify those people coming in and out. But if I say I just have a business where I ship merchandise, or I have, whatever, I have to account for everything that comes in and that leaves my business, especially in the way of money and merchandise. So I have to put these safeguards in place so that I know that my money comes in this way or this way, my money goes out this way. I have to have an audit trail so that I know what comes in, I know what goes out. And the same thing with merchandise. I have to be able to account for what comes in and what goes out. I have to ensure that everything that is supposed to come in is coming in and actually goes to the shelf or actually goes to the floor. And I have to make sure that when that item is sold, it's actually sold, and we actually have a cash or a credit card transaction for that. So auditing your business and understanding the flow of your business. Now that just deals with merchandise. The same thing has to be said with your employees. You have to have a security audit of your employees. You have to be able to track your employees coming and going. You have to know when they're there. You have to know when they leave, because You don't want some of these other schemes, such as payroll or time clock issues or whatever. You don't want those to become an issue, because those issues will cost you money. And those issues are harder to track. So you have to understand the flow of your merchandise, your cash, and your employees. And you have to be able to have measures in place. The second thing is have accountability measures for every position in your company. Accountability for every position. If I'm a cashier, I'm accountable for this. If I am a manager, I'm accountable for this. If I am a stocker or a receiving clerk or anything that I am handling, any type of merchandise, I have to have some measure of accountability that keeps me honest. If I just given a free hand to do whatever, then there's nothing there that's going to say, hey, my boss is going to check up on me, so I've got to make sure I do this right. So have measures of accountability for every position in the company. If you have a bookkeeper in the back, let me tell you something. Bookkeepers in the back will steal money from you. So you need to be aware of that. I don't care if they've been with you 20 years. Sometimes things happen in people's lives. And we've worked a number of cases where people who have been at a company for 18 or 20 years have all of a sudden defrauded that company of $30 and $40 and $50,000. It's a very tough situation to be in, because you consider this person a loyal employee, but have accountability measures for that employee as well, not just the part-time cashier that's going to be here through the holidays. You have to have those levels of accountability in place. Do background checks. Not only do background checks, do drug screens. Now, these are added expense to you as an employer, but let me tell you something. If someone comes back with a bad drug screen, if someone is a drug user, then they're probably have a habit of things. And if they have a habit of things, that can lead to employee theft. Sometimes people who have a habit of using drugs, they have to make a decision on whether they can pay their light bill, or they can pay their rent, or they can pay for their drug habit. And if they have a drug habit, they're going to do things to enhance their ability to pay for that drug habit. Oftentimes that turns out to be theft. So that's something that's another measure that you can use. Background checks, drug screens. It's an expense, but when you look at what it can save you down the road, it's an expense that you need to incur. Incorporate a strict security and anti-theft policy and protocol. Have it in writing. Incorporate this after you've done your security audit, after you've put these measures of accountability in place for every position in your company. Once you do background checks, once you do drug screening, put an anti-theft and security policy in place. Then meet with your people on a regular basis and relate to them how serious you are about this policy, and how serious you are about everyone being in compliance. And now that can vary depending on what type of business you have. Oftentimes service business, like say for instance, if I own a bar, if you're paying for things with a credit card, it's very simple for me as a bartender to take a picture of the front and the back of that credit card, boom, boom, and then I've got your information. I've got your card number, I've got your name, I've got your expiration date, I've got your PIN number, your number on the back. I've got everything I need to go make a transaction. I was in a one-day class in Tuscaloosa. I went to Wendy's to eat lunch, and the next couple days I had $600 of charges on my account that someone at the drive-thru in Wendy's took my information and used that to buy $600 worth of iTunes material. So it's very easy. So sometimes your security protocol may be no cell phones in the workplace. We provide you a locker, put it in your locker. When you go on break, check your cell phone. That takes away the ability to quickly make a snapshot of someone's credit card. So that's simple things. But have an anti-theft plan and let your employees know, hey, we're serious about this. And aside from this, it's important to always stay vigilant and to not allow discrepancies in your business. Don't just look at, well, the cash drawer's a little short today. My credit card receipts don't quite match up. don't let those small discrepancies become a way that you do business, because those small discrepancies may be the very indication that someone is taking money, either skimming or taking money through a credit card scheme or something. So don't let those discrepancies go. Yeah, stuff happens. People are human, and I know people make mistakes. But when it happens over and over again, don't let that stuff go, because it's generally an indicator that you have a problem there, and you need to deal with it. Because if you have a problem there, it's not going to get better on its own. It's going to get worse. So those are things that you need to think about. Well, look, I have talked a little longer than I had planned to, so I hope that you've got some information from me that may be helpful to you. I hope I haven't bored you. I would like to take an opportunity to answer any questions. I don't really know how the Zoom question thing works, but if you have the ability to answer some questions or ask some questions, I would love to have that opportunity to talk with you.
Everybody's got their mics on.
If you have a question, if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question, the lieutenant will be happy to answer anything you may have. Any questions? Or you can send it on chat if you wish.
While everybody's trying to decide if they want to ask me a question, let me throw a couple more little quick things in there. We've got the holidays coming up. Holiday security is going to be a hectic time. I don't really know how, with the COVID-19, I don't really know how this is going to work. I know a lot of people buying online. Be vigilant during the holidays and try to make sure that you maintain an added level of security when you're dealing with cash and credit cards. This is a good time to really introduce some surveillance cameras if you don't have them. This is a good time to talk to your employees about a security protocol. And something else, employee security. If you have a number of employees, and you have a break room, or give them some lockers or some means to secure their personal belongings. That way, if you have if you have a purse you're setting on a shelf, well, it's very easy for someone to go in and get something out of your purse. So give them the means to secure their property, especially if you're going to require that if they don't have cell phones on the floor at the workplace. Give them a means to secure that, so that they'll feel safe and comfortable with that, and that will cut down on a lot of that as well.
Okay, any questions? Can't believe nobody has any questions here. So I guess you've covered everything.
Well, I would, and that's the thing that I do like being more of a facilitator, because I know everybody has questions, and I really enjoy the opportunity to talk with people about their problems, and hopefully I can give them insight. So let me give you my contact information. If you have something to write with, please. It's Mike Keller, Keller. I'm a lieutenant. I'm over the CID. That's the Criminal Investigative Division. My office number is 205-978-0185. If you'd like to send me an email, my email is mkeller, Keller, at vhal.org. I would love to talk with you. If you have questions that you don't want to discuss today, if you have issues with maybe some of these things we talked about with your business, please give me a call, and we'll talk about what we need to do, and I'll be glad to help you any way I can.
We can still come to business too if they need us.
Yeah, and they have, the police department has volunteered, if your business needs a review, if you want anybody to come and, if you want them to come and say, hey, you may want to consider, having access only through the store or whatever, just to review your process, to give you guidance and advice on some changes you may make. So if so, you can contact Lieutenant Keller Corporal Eddie Krim or the chamber, and we can put you in contact with them and they can work out a date and time to come visit with you. So, well, we are grateful for our police department. We have the best in the whole
Thank
country.
you.
In fact, I'd even say the whole world.
Thank you.
Y'all are
They're pretty good.
awesome, and we are so grateful for the partnership. Y'all are always great to work with us. Anything we need, I have never had anybody to say, no, we can't do that. So,
Karen, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it very
well,
much.
good. Well, that was good information. It was very good. So anyway, and like I said, you're right, coming up here with the holidays is, we got to be extra vigilant on this.
Right.
So anyway, okay, if no questions, then I'm gonna sign us all off and thank you all for being part of today, okay? And this is recorded. Oh, I do have a chat question. Sorry, let's see. Just want to thank Lieutenant Keller for this great information and for his service.
Oh, thank
So,
you. Thank
there
you very
go,
much.
From Lisa Christopher.
Thank you,
So,
Chris.
okay. All right, good deal. Y'all have a great day, and thanks again for being part of this, and I will get it up on our website.
Oh, very good.
So was that okay? Was okay really?
Perfect.